You really need to be on the defense here to protect you and your staff and your clients' data. It is worth the investment for a password management system for both you and your team, because that will help in creating encrypted passwords. Purchase a VPN. And a VPN is a layer of protection between you and the rest of the world. I recommend that you have a VPN on your phone. I recommend that you have a VPN on your computer, and that will allow you to travel safely. Another recommendation that I have really for all firms is monitoring for your office. And I'm talking about accessing and using a firewall.
Welcome and thank you all for joining us for another Justia webinar. My name is Nina and I'll be the moderator for today. Now, to kick things off, I want to go ahead and introduce our speaker for today, Pegeen Turner. Pegeen Turner is a legal technology consultant and the president of Legal Cloud Technology based in Raleigh, North Carolina. With over 2 decades of experience, she has dedicated her career to empowering attorneys and legal professionals by integrating innovative cloud-based solutions into their practice. Pegeen's expertise lies not only in deploying cutting-edge technology, including AI, but also in optimizing existing systems to increase efficiency and leverage technology in law firms across the country. The webinar presentation that you're about to watch will be approximately 1 hour. And if you have questions, Pegeen will be taking those at the end, time permitting, and you can submit those by clicking the Q&A button in your control panel and sending them in there. Now, without further ado, here is Pegeen to discuss cybersecurity for small firms, what's truly essential to stay protected.
Thanks so much, Nina. I appreciate it. I am excited to be here today, and this is really kind of the heart of what I do every day. I do integrate technology into firms' practices, and I recently launched what I like to call an anti-MSP, which is a managed services provider to really help small firms increase their technology and their security, and really make sure that you guys, if you are working in a small law firm, that you really are protected. Most of my clients are small firms, small law firms all across the country, and I've seen firsthand what some security issues can really hurt their practice. So we're here to talk about how we can help, or how I can help you make sure that you're protected as much as you can, as your business, as you're helping clients, and hopefully you can get some practical tips that you can take away today that you can use in your practice right after this webinar. Again, please feel free to throw questions in the Q&A, because we will try and make sure that those questions are answered at the end. All right, why are we here? I'll start off with the reason why we're here is that even just this past week, I got 2 spam messages from small law firms who had their data breached. And you guys, if you are working in law, and I know you've seen it all over the place, where somebody's firm got breached, then you get spam emails from them. Hopefully you don't click on them, but sometimes you do, because it's somebody that you're working with. Truly, today in 2026, small law firms are targets for hacks. Most people think, well, I'm so small, it's not going to happen to me. It happens every single day. And truly, small firms are targets for hackers, because they don't think that your technology is as sophisticated as bigger firms. It may be that you guys are setting up your own IT, and maybe you don't know all the I's to dot and T's to cross. Maybe you don't have a firewall in your office, but you are not too small to be hacked, from email to servers, if you had it, to every account that you may have online. So we're going to talk about some protections that you have. Often small firms are pretty conservative in spending money. So what I try and do is make sure that you understand that sometimes it really does make sense to pay a little bit extra to get the business protections that you need as a business working in 2026. And truly, I don't know if anybody has had some kind of breach or some kind of incident or even lost data on a hard drive. You're much more conservative and protective when stuff like that happens. So I do want to put some recommendations in place that maybe that won't happen to you. I can't. They always say it's not if but when that something will happen, but hopefully it won't happen to you. And I want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. We'll talk about when you travel overseas, when you're sitting in the office, how you can make sure that you, as well as your staff, is protected. Because if you have more than one person in your office, humans are really the are kind of the problem these days because we are making mistakes, we're making errors, and we're going to do whatever we can to try and help you bridge the gap between what you know and what's happening out on the front lines these days. All right, let's talk about some basics. And most people will know these as far as the protections that you may or may not have in your firm today. And the first one is that first line of protection, and that is your virus protection. I can't say enough that if you are using something that came with your computer, like Norton or McAfee, or you don't even know what your virus protection is, find out because that's still the first line of defense. I do recommend that you guys invest in a business class virus protection. These virus protections that I've listed on the screen are business class virus protections because they're not just waiting for something to happen to you and then reacting to it, which is what the consumer based virus protections do, but they're actually leveraging AI and seeing if it sees patterns and things that are happening on your computer to protect you ahead of time. So protecting you from ransomware, protecting you from malware, doing any kind of protection that it can even ahead of time. And it's not just reacting to something that you have or that you may have actually clicked on, and it recognizes those patterns. Another thing that I recommended also as a baseline is spam filtering. And I can't tell you, I think this is the biggest bang for your buck is investing in a spam filter, like a paid spam filter, where I'm talking about you get a report every single day that says, hey, this message came in, but we think it's spam, and you can release it and you can choose whether or not that message is spam or is it not spam. Since humans are that weakest link, the spam filter is that defense that can protect you because it looks in the background on what's happening on the email. Does it make sense for you to be receiving this email or not? I think the other thing that is actually not on this screen, so I'll just go off script for a second. It's something that I've seen more and more in my practice, even more recently than before, is the ability to leverage password management. And I know you guys have probably seen what we're talking about as far as passwords. Everybody hates their passwords because they're such a pain. And I think eventually they will go away. We've talked about that for years. But if you remember nothing else from this webinar today, I would say it is worth the investment for a password management system for both you and your team, because that will help in creating encrypted passwords. It will help in saving passwords. It will help your team to be able to share passwords amongst yourselves that you need to, but still keep it protected. If you have recommendations for password management, to me, it doesn't matter what password management you're using. You can use, as a business, we use Keeper. Keeper is nice because it has both a team element as well as a personal element, but 1Pass and and like any number of different password managers. I can recommend. It doesn't matter which one, just use one and buy it for your firm. They're not that expensive. It may be like $30 a month, and it will be the best investment that you can make in your firm in protecting them and protecting your passwords, and making it easy to be able to distribute and save passwords in a safe way. That doesn't mean saving your passwords in Chrome. If you're doing that, that is not the safest way to do it. The Google Password Manager is not as good as you think it would be unless you're paying for a password manager on top of that. So I do recommend a separate password manager and not saving your passwords in Edge or in Chrome or really in any browser. All right, next thing I want to talk about is some benefits. We'll talk a lot about Microsoft 365 today because that is really where a lot of firms are living these days. Their email may be in Microsoft 365, or email may be in Google. Honestly, if you look at those side by side, as far as the number of breaches that happen with email accounts, more happen in 365 than they do in Google. Microsoft is doing some catch up these days on some of the security. So I think a lot of the breaches that you might see actually are coming from a Microsoft 365 account. But often that's because the accounts aren't set up correctly. They may not have all the protections. The first thing I would recommend, and we'll talk both about Google and Microsoft and Macs and PCs throughout the whole thing. So if one doesn't apply to you, hopefully down the road another one will. Since a lot of lawyers are in Windows, a lot of lawyers use Microsoft 365. So I'll start there. For Microsoft 365 account, if you are using that for your email, I do recommend there's a certain level of license that I do recommend, and that is business premium accounts. They are about $22 a month, but it does allow some. It's like the third tier in the Microsoft licenses. It's about $22 a month, but it does give you some extra protections. Like it includes encrypted email. It includes some conditional access that you can allow or most likely disallow people from getting into your account. It does allow more of that just from the sheer fact of having that particular license. I do encourage you. It's a pretty easy to move from one license to another. So anything really above business premium, E3, E5, if you're using those, you are in good shape. The other thing I want to talk about, and I'll talk more about this throughout the webinar, is two-factor authentication. And I do recommend, whether you're on a Google account or whether you're on a 365 account, that you make sure that you have two-factor authentication on your account. If you are still using a text message to get into your Google or your 365 account, those actually can be easily hacked. So I do recommend that while you can use that in the background, I actually recommend you eliminate that text message from to your account in order to get into your 365 account. Microsoft is moving away from that. Google's moving away from that. So you're going to see over in the probably in the next year or so, even some other forms of authentication coming down the pike. So no matter where you are, but especially in your email accounts, make sure that those are protected. As far as hardware is concerned, especially with small firms have small IT budgets and small tech budgets. One place that I recommend that you don't skimp is the computers that you're buying. The Macs of the world, they're expensive, they're protected, so keep buying your Macs. I'm a huge Mac fan. On the Windows side, there's really two different classes of Windows machines. You can buy a Windows Home machine, which is what I don't recommend, but they typically are cheaper than the Windows Pro machines. Those Windows Home machines, the kicker with those is that they don't have something called BitLocker on those machines. That's the encryption part of Windows on your actual hard drive. If you have a Windows Home machine and that Windows Home machine gets lost or stolen, somebody could actually take out your hard drive and see all the contents of it. On a Windows Pro machine, which is a little bit more expensive, but again, this is something that you kind of get what you pay for. Those Windows Pro machines, actually, you can turn on, and it's usually turned on by itself, turn on the BitLocker encryption. And so if your computer is lost or stolen, somebody takes out that hard drive, they can't see any data on there because it is encrypted. One quick tip on BitLocker that I just saw this week, again, because I keep seeing this. If you've ever have been prompted for a BitLocker key on your Windows computer, make sure that if you have that turned on, that it's saved somewhere else. I think it's a 45 character key. You're given the option typically when you are setting up an account, if you want to turn on or back up that BitLocker key, then you can certainly do that. You can print it out on a piece of paper. You can also save it to your Microsoft account. So make sure that you have that BitLocker key somewhere just in case your hard drive dies, your motherboard dies, and you need to type in that key. I've also seen recently where there's been a Windows update that has caused this to come up too. So just keep that in mind to make sure that you have that protected. Another quick tip to actually to back up your BitLocker key, go to your C drive, right click on it, choose Manage BitLocker, and it will allow you to back up your key right there. So in the end, buy Windows Pro machines. Most of the time, you don't always get those from the Amazons of the world. If you buy them from a Dell or a Lenovo from the manufacturer, you can specify that Business Pro account, and Windows Pro account, and I would make sure that that's part of your requirements when you are putting in a new computer. Again, both for you and your staff. All right, let's talk about travel, because in many instances, this little device that holds the key to so many things is traveling with you. Sometimes you're traveling with your computer as well. So when we talk about traveling, and now we're getting ready for spring break to kick in here pretty soon, I do want to make sure that you understand what some security things that may be helpful to you as you are moving around the country or the world. And the first thing is to purchase a VPN. And a VPN is a layer of protection between you and the rest of the world. I recommend that you have a VPN on your phone. I recommend that you have a VPN on your computer, and that will allow you to travel safely because it's protecting your computer. If you connect to an unsecure Wi-Fi, which I don't recommend without a VPN, I don't recommend it in general, but it does give you that protection. One of the VPNs that I like and use personally is NordVPN, N-O-R-D. It's about $99, and it will cover 5 devices. So if you're heading off to Italy for spring break, I would make sure that you buy that 5 licenses for your family. Make sure it's on everybody's accounts because it does protect you. So many phones and computers come back from traveling overseas or on cruise ships or wherever, and they are there's malware on there, they're infected, and it really does impact, and in many instances we're just having to wipe devices to get rid of all the junk around it. So make sure that you have that VPN to connect. The other thing that you also have on your lovely little phone here is a mobile hotspot. So in many modern phones, and modern, I mean like last 5 years, they will have a hotspot that's available on your phone that all you have to do is turn on. And it creates a secure connection between you and the rest of the world. But that mobile hotspot sits in your pocket. So if you're on a train, if you're in your hotel, that really should be that first connection that you are using to connect to your laptop to. It provides a Wi-Fi for you. it allows you to connect safely and securely and get internet access right from your phone. So just make sure that you are using the tools that are available to you, and that way you can have a safe and productive traveling. One last quick thing regarding traveling, that I thought this was a great suggestion that somebody said, that maybe remove your banking apps before you go. If you're traveling to maybe not the safest country, because all countries, you would love for them to be as safe and secure, even like within the U.S. too. Remove your banking apps, and at least that's not available for someone to easily access. I will also say, to go back to my story about the text messages that you're getting for your 365 account, so many phones come back compromised, where that phone number, somebody picks up that phone number from your phone, and then they start using that phone number. They start using your phone number. So when that message comes in to access your 365 account and you're going to a text message, somebody else is getting that as well. So we'll talk more about AI and other fun stuff, but know that is happening every single day. Most of the time I see that coming with phones that have traveled overseas and are coming back home. All right. Speaking of AI, I don't think you can have a technology discussion today in 2026 without talking about AI. We're not going to dive into, we'll dive in a little bit on AI, because I don't think I don't think we can avoid it. But know that while AI, in my opinion, is a good step, it's step forward. We'll talk about some precautions. Understand that there is also really bad side of AI, and that's the bad guys that are also using AI to try and get into your account, to try and hack you. It gives them more resources, just like it gives you more resources. So as much as you can do to protect yourself from AI bots, we'll look at phishing emails in just a second, some things to things to watch out for. But know that that there's not just one protection that you can do, and you're all set. You kind of have to make a conglomeration of different tools, where multi-factor authentication, that authenticator app that's on your phone, that's just not enough, because AI bots are actually coming in, like we said, grabbing those phones. They're actually using the passwords in your browser to get into your 365 account. And often you'll see when if you've ever been hit with a compromised account, or if you've ever had your account compromised or talked to somebody who has, they have clicked on a bad email. That bad email maybe opens their 365 account or opens a link to something. It actually grabs those passwords, and then all of a sudden, this is all done by bots, by the way. This is not like a person sitting there. That bot is actually going out, seeing what kind of passwords you have up there, grabbing those passwords, trying to log into your 365 account or other accounts. So know that that while AI is great, it also is doing bad things in the background. Couple other things that I just want you to be aware, that you may have heard about on the news, but I do want to tell you, because not everybody hears about these things, and I'll mention some other ways that AI is being used to access your account. The first one is social engineering. Social engineering, where somebody is calling up, like literally calling. It may be an AI calling you, but they're calling you up. They're trying to convince you to give them your bank password, or, hey, I'm from your IT. I'm from your IT company. I'm a new person at your IT company, and so called me to try and fix this issue for you. And they will be very convincing. They will be very empathetic, and in many instances, they are successful in someone giving them their bank password, their routing number, their account number, you name it. And that's just because somebody has called them up and asked for them. In the same way, the AIs are also grabbing your voice and using voice sampling. If you have any accounts where your voice is actually needed for authentication, they're grabbing people's voice. I'm sure you've heard about the grandmother that gets called by the grandson that they are in jail and they need to pay them 10 Bitcoins or $10,000 right away, and people are believing it. So know that the AI is here, and we need to do whatever we can to protect ourselves. All right, I just wanted to throw up a couple of quick examples, and because there are things that you can do for some of this. And the first one is if you don't have a spam filter, but you're still getting messages that look weird, or that you're not quite sure are real. On the screen, there's an example of a message that came in that obviously is not from someone that you know. These hackers are creating Gmail accounts. They're creating all kinds of accounts. They're actually even spinning up whole email accounts that are similar to people's domains. So it makes it look like they are coming from a particular person. And unfortunately, this process has just gotten better when bad guys are using AI, because now there's no longer misspellings and other bad things that are or other more obvious things that are happening in spam email, and people are clicking on the bad items. You'll notice that in the second email that the Soffit Connect is actually a legitimate company. Now AI is actually creating emails that are perfect, that just like AI can create emails that are perfect for you, they're creating emails that are perfect for other people. They're putting bank companies on their email, their phone calls that are coming in from Bank of America or Citibank actually say they're from Citibank, and that's all AI. What I can do is recommend that you just be cautious and make sure that you and your staff are cautious about any email that you are clicking on, especially when you're busy. I think that's the busiest thing, or that's the biggest thing for lawyers. Every day they're really busy. They're, moving and shaking and looking at emails and, just trying to get through everything that they have to do. And that's where compromises happen. It is that human element where, I was expecting this email from somebody. I clicked on something and it turns out that it was a hacked email. And then all of a sudden it starts the whole process about what can you do. I'll tell you a quick story that I had a client whose office manager, brand new office manager, first day, he got a spam email and he was out before anybody knew it. He was trying to do a good job. The managing partner sent him an email, "Hey, can you go get 5 gift cards for me?" Being that new person, he doesn't know any of the rules, doesn't know anything what's going on. He was actually went and bought gift cards and came back to the office. And somebody's like, "Well, where were you?" "Well, I was out buying gift cards because, John asked me to buy gift cards." Well, he got a spam email, he clicked on it, and then all of a sudden he is interacting with the hacker. So all this to say, just be careful with with email, because while it is great, it can also be dangerous and detrimental to your firm. So what happens if you get compromised? What can you do, and what do they do? And we talked a little bit about this. And the scary part is if you do click on a bad email and then you realize it, you're like, "Oh my gosh, what did I just do? I made a mistake." And then you're kind of holding your breath for like your computer to explode, or with something to happen, or something big happens, and guess what? Nothing happens. And you're like, "Oh, okay, maybe that wasn't a bad email." But what's happening in the background is that if it is a bad email, and most likely it is, if you recognize it after the fact, then they are actually walking through the process that we talked about. They are grabbing your credentials from your browser. They're logging into your 365 account. They are forwarding your email to other people. They are accessing your 365 account. If you're an administrator on your 365 account, they're putting other ways that they can send out spam for your through your 365 account. So all this is happening in the background when you think nothing is happening. So my recommendation to you, if you do click on a bad email, the first thing you should do is absolutely change your password, which if you clicked on a password, or if you entered a password when you clicked on the link, absolutely change that. Or better yet, talk to your IT people, because they can actually look in your account to see if there's anything happening on that side. And this is also how fraud happens, how wiretap or how wires get compromised. Wiring instructions get compromised, because once an account is compromised, in many instances, the hacker isn't going anywhere. He's going to watch. He or she is going to watch what's happening. He's going to find out, okay, who's in charge of payroll? Okay, oh, this person is actually sending information about wiring instructions. So he's going to actually look and see and actually mine your email and wait until something happens. Again, this is not a person. This is a bot that's doing all that. And as soon as they find someone or something or an event like, hey, I'm getting ready to wire $100,000 for a PI settlement, then that's when they act. And so it may have been something that you clicked on 3 months ago, but they're sitting in your account waiting for that to happen. And then that hacker is sitting there, often communicating on behalf of the person that they have compromised, whether it is an assistant or whether it is an attorney. It doesn't matter. Someone says, hey, I got this weird email from you. Is it legitimate? They will respond back and say, oh yeah, no, I need you to do this. So they're actually responding back, and they set up your account so you can't see any of this that's happening. They hide it. They send emails that automatically get deleted, forwarded to themselves, so that way they can actually act on your behalf. So it's truly kind of a scary environment. So my best recommendation is, if you do click on something, make sure that you are contacting your IT person and making sure that everything is good, both on your online accounts as well as on your local machine. Right, some things that you can do to add some additional security to whatever account. This is Microsoft 365, but really this is really for any account. So if you're storing your documents in Dropbox for Business or storing them in SharePoint, no matter where you are, where you're storing data, these are good protections. And the first one is access. I can't tell you how many firms, when I work with them, they have all their documents under the client file, whether it's on Dropbox or on a server or SharePoint, and everybody has access to that client file, including the summer intern that comes in for 3 months, and they just automatically give them access. I can't recommend enough to really limit the amount of access that people have to data. What does everybody need access to the HR and the IT stuff? No. So you probably have that off to the side, but does everybody need access to all the closed client files? Does everybody need access to all of the client files? Probably not. So look at some access controls and limit the amount of people who have access, who have the keys to the kingdom, because if something does happen, it will only impact a smaller number of people and have less impact if folks have less access. Another recommendation that I have really for all firms is monitoring for your office. And I'm talking about accessing and using a firewall. If you're not sure if you have a firewall is a piece of hardware that goes in your office that you can install protections on, that anybody who's trying to access data in your office, you can be protected from. They have there's all kinds of different firewalls. I do recommend firewalls for even small firms because that is another good protection that you can offer your whole office using one device. So make sure that if you don't have a firewall, you put it in your budget. There are cheaper ones and there are more expensive ones, but it protects you and gives you access to not only inside the office, but protecting data that is you can have it protect data going outside of the office as well. That firewall will also not only protect the bad guys from coming out, but also will look to see, all right, is there bad traffic that is coming into your office too, and suspend that bad traffic. So it doesn't replace the multi-factor authentication, but it's just another layer of protection that I recommend. I'm going to talk again about multi-factor authentication. So that app on your on your phone that you're using for authentication. Make sure that no matter what program that you are using online, whether it is your Carbonite to back up your data, or your 365 account, or I'm a Clio certified consultant, make sure your Clio account has two-factor authentication on. Really, any program that you are using will offer two-factor authentication. Any good program that these days will offer two-factor authentication. Make sure it's turned on for everybody and in every program that you are using. Again, that baseline protection. Hopefully some of your staff are here as well, because this is all part of training. The human element is really the vulnerable part of IT. And as much as your folks can be aware of some things that are out there, the better defense that they will have, not only for you, but for your entire office as well, because you really need to be on the defense here to protect you and your staff and your clients data. I talked about that password management. There are training companies out there. One is called Know Before, that will also give you they'll also simulate spam messages and walk people through training. Some of it I will say is a little goofy too, but some cyber liability insurances will have training that you can have for your staff. Take advantage of any training for your staff. I do recommend for a lot of my clients, I will do like an hour-long cybersecurity training once a year, just to let people know what are the latest and greatest things that are out there, and make it part of your culture, like coming together as an office and making sure that everybody is protecting everybody else. And it's not a bad thing if you click on something bad. It's a mistake and we want to move on, but we also need to make sure that staff people are doing this as well. Everybody makes mistakes, and we just want to make sure that you are protected. And so know that this is something that everybody should be aware of, and what are the next steps. I talked about password management because that's the other thing I forgot that it was in here, but again, something that you can provide your firm. Another thing that you can provide your firm is creating a plan ahead of time. These are often called, this is incident response. It's called your written information security plan, but basically it's a plan for what happens. I live in North Carolina, so we are in hurricane country. And so we just never know when something that's going to happen. Those of you who are in California with earthquakes, you never know what's going to happen. The incident response plan, I can't say enough about, because what it does, it gives you a plan ahead of time. And then when something happens, whether it is as simple as the internet goes out or something as tragic as a fire in your office, because I've seen everything in between, there's a plan. You know who to contact if your data is breached. You know, what are the phone numbers that you start with, a phone tree. There's all kinds of different information that you can include in that. Your malpractice provider, your cyber liability provider, just have all that information in one place. So if something does happen, then you go to, or you have that piece of paper sitting at home in a drawer that if you ever need it. But it's not something that you're trying to come up with on the fly, because if anybody is in a crisis, you know, all that logic that attorneys have just goes right out the window. And so if you have a plan, then you can take that plan and then implement it. I do recommend, and we'll talk a spec more about cyber liability insurance, and I do recommend for every firm that you have on top of your malpractice insurance that you do have a cyber liability insurance policy. It's they become more expensive, but truly it is worth the investment, like other insurances. But it does protect you because incidents like this can be really, really expensive. Let's talk about backups for a second. I like to use the analogy where your data should exist in 3 different places. So if you think about where your data is stored right now, and if you have somebody else that is backing up your data today, and when I think about not only just documents, but we're talking about email, we're talking about local documents on your hard drive if you are using that, your server, make sure that your data exists in 3 different places. And the cloud-based backup, like, well, I'm using Dropbox and Dropbox is in the cloud. Well, if you read the Dropbox terms of service, you will see that Dropbox says in the terms of service that they are not a backup. They store documents. They do not back up documents for you. So you cannot guarantee that backup will be there. No matter what system that you're talking about, read your terms of service. Make sure that you have your data in 3 different places. Those Mac folks that are on the call, make sure that you have your time machine backed up, because especially at a small firm, that can be a lifesaver. You can have it just scheduled, turn it on, and then forget about it. Yes, you have to make sure that it's connected to a hard drive. But I can't tell you how many times I've used a time machine backup and just brought it back to the way it was. I wish Windows had something similar, and they're kind of moving in that direction a little bit. But make sure that if you're a Mac user, that you have the time machine turned on. There's a couple options right now when we talk about cloud-based backup, and whether it is your data on your local machine, on your server in Google Drive. And do you have to back up all of your data? No. Should you back up your email? Probably. I'll tell you a quick story where again, back to the summer interns, actually deleted a client file, and then people didn't realize it for 3 months, and then all of the backups were only good for 90 days, and then that data was lost. So know that humans make mistakes, and when humans make mistakes, unfortunately, then there are consequences. So make sure that your data is backed up in a way. If, like I said, if somebody else is backing it up, ask them for proof that there's backup. Like, delete it, put in a test file, delete it, and then let's see if your IT people can get that back. Make them prove that they are doing it, because if they don't, you probably should switch providers. There's some options for cloud-based backup on the screen, but there's just any number of backup solutions there. Just make sure that that your data is backed up, and like I said, three different options. One quick thing about Dropbox, because I know lots of firms use Dropbox. They will only store your files that have been deleted for 30 days, and once they're gone from 30 days, they wipe them off the Dropbox servers. Okay, I I talked a lot about 365. I'll also just mention that 365 should also have backups as well. If you're using Microsoft Teams, if you're using OneDrive or SharePoint, again, make sure that those are backed up as well, because uh, all of that data, whether it's documents or email, is really part of your client file. So you do want to make sure that if something happens to it, that there are backups. So make sure that if you're not backing them up and somebody else is, then email and any data in your Google account, in your 365 account are also backed up. Okay, let's talk about cyber insurance. And I'll just mention that not you have a malpractice insurance policy. Many instances of what we were talking about today are not covered under a malpractice under your malpractice insurance. That extra cyber insurance is a separate policy, and not everything that we talked about today is covered in under that as well. But I do recommend that you have this, even if it is an additional expense. It's kind of like life insurance. You hope you never have to use it, but if you do, then the $100,000 remediation that you may have from a breach won't come out of your pocket, because that is often how much these are costing, and then upwards from there. So know that the cyber liability insurance is really an effective way to at least try and limit some of your exposure. Because unfortunately, if there is a breach, if there is something that has happened and it gets out there, then it can impact your reputation. And truly, your reputation is really part of what, for a small firm, it's all about. So as much as we can do to protect yourself, then that's just one more thing you can do. Part of a lot of the cyber liabilities these days will offer some protections. It will actually go out and look and see, hey, what does this firm have online? What do their protections look like? Are they vulnerable? You might get a questionnaire about some of where your data is stored, how it's backed up, and it's just another way to be able to protect yourself. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to talk briefly about AI, because AI is here to stay. I encourage you guys to make sure that you are certainly dipping your toe into AI, even if you might be unsure about it. But just make sure that if you are dipping your toe in, that you're doing it safely as possible. And I think the number one thing that we probably learned from all of the the bad press for lawyers and hallucinations in AI is making sure that you're not sharing confidential or personally identifiable information through ChatGPT, through anything that what is called like an open environment. So please make sure that you're not uploading emotion into ChatGPT, because that's how that data gets out there. Just make sure that you are using it, but maybe using it for marketing or composing emails in a generic sense, but definitely using it. I also recommend, as a firm, you create an AI policy on how people should and should not be using it. Maybe buy a solution for them, buy an AI solution for them, and then after it's been vetted, that's the tool that people should use. But AI is not going away, and I encourage you to embrace it, but make sure that you are embracing it safely. I talked at the beginning that I am a what we'll call a managed services provider, but that is really, I like to say I'm an anti-MSP. But there are some benefits for managed services provider to take a lot of this off people's plate. And if you may be using one right now, know that if they push back on giving you backup information, or you're not happy with the service, know that it's easy to switch. it might be, you may have to jump through a few hoops, but know that it may be beneficial to switch to someone who will show you that your backups are active. Or if you're not getting great response from them, like it takes you 3 weeks for somebody to fix the camera on somebody's machine, that's not what you should be expecting. There's lots of options out there for great managed services providers. Law firms are kind of a unique little niche for MSPs because a lot of them are smaller, and sometimes MSPs are not as amenable to working with smaller firms because the big firms kind of shadow them or kind of box them out. But know that if you're not happy with someone, then you can certainly switch. There are MSPs that do work with law firms, and they don't have to be in your town. They can be across the country and still help. And that's, I think, the one thing that of any MSPs, they don't always understand law firms. They don't understand if you're a Clio user, or don't understand that when your computer is down, time is money because you can't bill time. You can't do your work for your clients. You can't meet that deadline that you are there. So make sure that they understand what your needs are if they're not familiar with law firms. And if they are familiar with law firms, make sure that that they can meet your issues. They can be expensive, but sometimes if it's paying to be able to sleep better at night, then it's worth the cost. I think in the end, what we're really looking for is a comprehensive approach to cybersecurity. So you can see throughout the course of the talk, there are multiple things that you can do that in order to protect yourself, from the insurance side to the incident response side to the multi-factor authentication to the backups, and really everything in between. Training, making sure that your folks know exactly what to do in any kind of incident, and making sure that they can spot that spam message when it comes in. Better yet, protect them with a spam filter. So that there's any number of ways that you guys can help your firms, and hopefully this has been helpful for to have some takeaways that you can take back to your firm today. All right, I think we have a little time for some Q&A. Maybe not quite as much as we had hoped, but I'm happy to answer any questions that folks have.
Well, thank you so much, Pegeen, for that wonderful presentation. As I mentioned earlier, you can go ahead and submit your questions by going to the Q&A button in your control panel and sending them in there. Pegeen, we already have a few questions, so we can go ahead and get started. This first question is, small businesses don't often employ dedicated IT people, but may have IT vendors who are available but not immediately. What do you suggest we do when a cyber attack or a similar event happens, for example, on our website? With emails or other accounts, we can change passwords, but what happens when it's related to your website?
So websites are kind of different beasts. They really are. I think if there is if you've had an attack on your website, I do recommend there are there's a product that you can buy that you layer on top of your website that protects you from that intrusion that happens in your website. So maybe prior to an incident on your website, that you have that. If you have a website, you put that protection in place so you don't get an incident. I would make sure that you have as quick access to your, like if your website is hosted at GoDaddy or Squarespace or wherever, they are there to help you as well. So that way, if you do have an incident, your hosting provider can also help you and walk you through that process, clean out anything that would have happened on your website, and help you right then. So you're not waiting for your IT people to get back to you who may not be available.
Awesome. Thank you for that advice, Pegeen. All right, next
Plus, it's just via as website. So
yes, we're always here to help. If you do happen to have a Justia website, we're very responsive. So definitely that is on your hosting provider to help you with anything that might happen. Thank you for mentioning that. Our next question is, what is FIDO2 or FIDO2? Can you clarify that for our audience?
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen the FIDO is a key. And it's actually a key that you can put in your computer. It's about, just like the size of a USB key. So if you look at like a tiny little flash drive, that's what that protection is. That is similar to, and this is really, I think, the direction that we're going for FIDO is an alternative to putting your password in. It's an alternative to using your phone for authentication. So you tie that FIDO key, that physical piece of equipment, into your account and use that for authentication wherever you may go. You can see them. You can buy them on Amazon and set them up yourself. They're pretty easy. It also helps if you're flying, you can use a FIDO key when you have no internet access to. So if you want to get into your account.
Awesome. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Our next question is, for a solo attorney, would you recommend Microsoft or Google for emails or workspace, and Mac or Windows for hardware?
Okay, great question. I think it will depend on where your clients live, actually. If you are starting your new firm, then I would say, are your clients on the creative side? Like if they're podcasters and YouTubers, they often live in the Google world. If you are an estate planning attorney and your most of your clients are most likely Windows users, not on the creative side, then I definitely look at on the Microsoft side. The beautiful part about the Mac and Windows is that the Mac and Windows, you can work in both worlds. So I love Macs and I love Windows. It's really just a matter of personal preference. I have clients who start off with Windows and they're like, well, my wife uses a Mac and she's encouraging me to use it. Should I do it? I said, if you can dedicate 2 weeks to learn, like really digging yourself into a Mac and learning it, absolutely, you will never go back. You will never regret it. But if you don't have that 2 week window or so to really like dig in and use it, then I can't say that it would be a good investment. I have people who buy $3,000 Macs and then they sit on the shelf because they just don't have time to learn them. And they're intimidating, but Macs are great, especially with smaller firms, and they're a wonderful tool. They work in both Google and in Microsoft, so it really doesn't matter where they should be.
Awesome. Thank you, Pegeen. Our next question actually relates back to the FIDO key. So Matt is asking, getting back to the FIDO key, if you forget it at the office, how can you access your accounts without it? Is there a fail-safe for that?
I think it's going to depend on the individual manufacturer on how you have it set up. Normally, there will be some type of backup in a similar way if you have when you set up an account, or when you have like backup keys. When you set up a FIDO key, you'll have some backups that you can again print out or put somewhere else that will allow you to get into that account. But it's going to depend. Each manufacturer will be slightly different. So I would actually look at the reviews, talk about. I'm a huge Reddit fan, so find out what the manufacturer is maybe best. I don't always look at I don't always make recommendations on hardware side because there's so many different options and so many different people that are doing that that are providing that service.
So thank you, Pegeen. Definitely good to know when they're shopping around for those things. This next question is, I'm not clear. So if you open a spam email but do nothing more, have you already opened yourself up to hackers?
Well, I'd love to say no, but sometimes yes. And it's really going to depend on the message. I've seen more and more it used to be you would only click on, if you click on the email and then click on the link, that is when the compromise would happen. That's not always the case these days. So I have seen machines get compromised just by opening it. I will say I've seen less compromises happen when you open the email on the phone than when you're opening an email on a computer, because there are more protections in place on your phone if you do open something by accident. But and this is where you just need to be careful. I think I've seen more. I've seen actually a virus hit when somebody was even previewing a document or previewing a bad email. So yeah, so as much as you can prevent those emails actually from getting to you, the better. So that's where that recommendation of spam filter is really where I kind of stick. So as much as we can, not getting those emails in the first place is the best bet.
Awesome. Thank you, Pegeen. And maybe related to spam, but this next question is, what are some warning signs that a Microsoft 365 account has been compromised outside of spam or in addition to that?
Yeah, there's lots of different warning signs. I think the most obvious one is when somebody emails you and says, "Hey, did you send me that email?" Unfortunately, that's a little on the late side. I often recommend people, if you log in online and look at your 365 account, see if there's anything in the forwarding area. That forwarding allows, that's one of the signs that people are kind of sitting there watching, that there's an email that is that's forwarding your email. You didn't put it there and it's going to the outside. Maybe nothing has happened. That's one of the first things that I look for when I'm looking at a compromised account, is that forwarding. So I think the other thing is if you see emails that maybe you didn't generate, like you look in your sent items, you are like, often they will pick some random archive folder that you never touch, and there's emails in there that weren't yours. Or maybe if you look in your deleted items, what they will do is they will automatically delete items. They can't automatically completely delete them, but they'll send them to deleted items. So look in those emails, look in those folders, and see if there's anything that is just weird. If it is, contact your IT people, have them look, because there's certainly other signs in the Microsoft 365 account that can be a big red flag for them.
Awesome. Thank you, Pegeen. And then our last question for today is related to affordability. Obviously, we've talked about a lot of tools and a lot of things that are, great for small firms to employ. But if affordability and budget are front of mind, what would you say are the most essential tools to utilize? What would you recommend there?
I think that probably the two. I'll do three. Spam filter, which we talked about a lot. I would the password management. Really, that is, you think it's expensive and it's not expensive. So invest in that for your team. And then the business class antivirus. Those are kind of the and well, we'll add backups to it too. But like 3 or 4 things. And you don't have to do these all at once, because they can be expensive. So just budget them. Like, start with one, and then next quarter do the next one, and then next quarter do the next one. But make that part of your budget. So even in a small firm, you're making an investment into your firm, and know that yes, it can be expensive, but none of those things are that expensive. It might be an hour's worth of time if you bill $200 an hour, and that to me is worth the investment, because you're investing in yourself.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that insight and for taking the time to answer all of our audience questions, Pegeen. And thank you to all of our audience members who sent in questions. We always appreciate your participation. We want to thank you all so much for joining us for another Justia webinar. As I mentioned earlier today, if you're a lawyer attending, don't miss out on the Justia Lawyer Directory, a free tool to boost your professional presence. You can claim your profile at lawyers.justia.com to connect with millions of potential clients each month, as well as adding access to our FAQ feature to allow you to answer common questions and expand your reach in both search and AI results. And if you want even more visibility, don't forget about our Justia Premium Placements, Gold and Platinum, to put you ahead of the competition. You can learn more about those at marketing.justia.com. Thank you all so much for joining and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos on law practice and legal marketing. See you in our next video.